Welcome back, true believers and all you merry Marvelites, to another interesting Marvel games related video, and sadly it is a bit of an upsetting one, and I do hate to be the bearer of bad news, especially with everything going around the world right now with the current pandemic, which is the main focus of this particular video and the news that surrounds it. But when it does come to certain subjects, or mainly video games, that I myself am interested in, I do feel like making a video about it to inform all of you as to what's going on around these current games and what their certain schedules are in terms of releases or updates. And even though it may not be positive news, I still feel like it is important news to elaborate upon nonetheless and inform all you as to what the situation is. And these are two major games, one of which is way more major than the other one, but the main one that relates to Marvel is, of course, Iron Man VR, the virtual reality Iron Man game exclusive to PlayStation VR, being developed by Camouflage, which is a very, very interesting title that I myself got to play at last year's San Diego Comic-Con, and I thought it was phenomenal. And they first said that it was going to release in February, and then they delayed both Iron Man VR and the Avengers project, where Iron Man VR went from February to May 15th, which is the original release date for Marvel's Avengers. And now, Marvel's Avengers is, of course, delayed from May 15th to September 4th, going into the fall later on of this year. But we'll talk about that particular title a bit later. But mainly, the news, the huge news going on today is sadly both Iron Man VR and The Last of Us Part 2, huge PlayStation exclusive, have been both delayed indefinitely. And that is very upsetting to see, but of course it is obvious given the current worldwide situations that are occurring right now. And I myself have actually discussed about this in previous videos, saying to expect future game delays possibly occurring due to the virus that I cannot name, or else YouTube will hunt me down, that will affect not only movies or productions for certain shows or anything like that, but also development for video games. And I, for some reason, wasn't even expecting The Last of Us to possibly be affected by this, but it has, and it's pretty darn crazy. And just to read it off directly from PlayStation's Twitter page, which is where this news directly comes from, and also Naughty Dog did have a statement, but since this is mainly about Marvel, we're just going to read the PlayStation post as of right now. It says, "Update. Sony Interactive Entertainment has made the difficult decision to delay the launch of The Last of Us Part 2 and Marvel's Iron Man VR until further notice. Logistically, the global crisis is preventing us from providing the launch experience our players deserve." And also a very important point, currently, there are no other delays to report, but we'll keep you updated. So, obviously, this is very saddening news for a lot of people who are extremely hyped for The Last of Us Part 2, myself included, but safety first, that's the most important thing, making sure that the workers themselves and the developers do have all the resources necessary to fully develop the game properly. And they even said that even more so on the Naughty Dog post, just to kind of paraphrase it, that they do have a majority of the game developed, but given the worldwide pandemic that's going on, it may not be able to reach as many people as they initially would like it to. So that's why they are holding off to release the game from when it was originally set in May until later on, where that could be fall of this year or possibly later on next year. We have no clue. There's no update about that specifically. And that also is the same situation for a game like Marvel's Iron Man VR, which you could say is a bit less important since it's a VR game and the majority of people could download it digitally instead of physically. But for example, for me, in California, all of the local GameStops have been shut down by law. Like, they are required to shut down all GameStops in California, and I also believe in other states around the US, but mainly in California, everything is shut down, which is crazy. And that would massively affect sales of a game if they were to release it either physically or digitally. Now, granted, some people could use online shipping methods like Amazon or eBay to buy a game or something like that through online methods and shipping and have it be delivered, but most big gaming retailers like GameStop or possibly Best Buy may not be able to fully provide the game to the consumer as much as they could physically or digitally. And if it's just digitally, that would massively affect sales for PlayStation, Sony, and Naughty Dog as a whole. And of course, For example, I really want Persona 5 Royal. I pre-ordered the collector's edition for that game, and I can't get it now because my local GameStop is shut down. And I myself don't want to buy it digitally. I want to get it physically for that collector's edition, so that is why I'm not spending my money until I can actually pick it up for myself physically. And that would also go for, Marvel's Avengers and also Marvel's Iron Man VR, because I do want to buy that game physically once it is released. So, money talks. That's sadly the way the business goes and how the cookie crumbles, but that is the main matter of the situation, is that the reason why they are not just allowing it to be released, like what they're doing with Final Fantasy VII Remake, they are still planning to release that game on April 10th, and they are saying that there might be some issues. People have already gotten the game earlier in certain parts of the world, but they are still planning to go ahead with that game's release date since it's so close. But for a game like Last of Us Part 2 that's a bit farther out, they just decided to delay it until they can fully reassure themselves that they can publish the game and, sell it to different retailers and have it be put out there for all the consumers to get their hands on the product at launch in an efficient way. And that also is the reason why I do fully believe that other major games, like that of PlayStation's titles, of Ghost of Tsushima, and also the Godfall game, which is that PlayStation 5 exclusive that's coming on later on, and also the next-gen consoles in general, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, due to the worldwide situation that is happening, the sad reality is, possibly, the majority of these games will be delayed down the line, and of course, that also relates to Marvel's Avengers. And I do think that even though it's not confirmed yet, even though there's been no news in the slightest about that game in particular for Avengers, or even Ghost of Tsushima, given that this major game for The Last of Us has been delayed, I think these other major AAA games will follow suit. And to give you guys a bit of a comparison, Last of Us Part 2 is this huge major franchise that PlayStation owns exclusively for the platform. And the pre-order numbers that game had have outdone the entirety of the pre-order numbers for Marvel's Spider-Man, which, if you don't know, it's logistically proven and statistically stated that Marvel's Spider-Man is currently the highest-selling superhero game of all time, and also the highest and fastest-selling PlayStation exclusive ever made. And the pre-order numbers for The Last of Us Part 2 have outdone the sales numbers for pre-orders that Spider-Man initially had. So that just shows how massive of a game this was going to be, and it still is going to be whenever it releases, but they are already showing that the pre-order numbers physically for the Ellie Edition, which is their version of the Collector's Edition, have outdone that of Spider-Man, and also digital sales, physical pre-order sales for the Standard Edition, Deluxe Edition, all that have outdone Spider-Man. So it's going to be a massive game for them, and that's why they don't want to lose out on any money for them possibly releasing it due to, like what I said earlier, my GameStops have closed, other local retailers have shut down, so that would be a loss of sales for them significantly. And I do think that even though these other games down the line are a bit farther out, like Ghost of Tsushima, as of right now, it's already April, so that game is like a little over 2 months away, since it releases in June, late June, I believe. But also for a game like Avengers, which releases in September, even though that is way farther out in the fall, a lot of the developers are working from home. They're working at home to stay safe, and they don't have all the resources that a developer would normally have if they were to work inside the studio. So that would cause production problems, possibly them having to try and switch around certain resources to adjust the development cycle for their game, and other projects that other companies would be making down the line. And of course, for next-generation consoles, manufacturing the console, shipping it out again to different retailers and different, sites, it would be a problem. And that would all in total affect sales and overall amount of customer consumability for them to get their hands on these products. And it's sad to say, but I do think that this is just the start of what we are going to see going forward. I do think these other major AAA titles could be delayed down the line. I hope not. I do want to remain positive and optimistic, but I'm just telling you guys, the real deal of what the situation currently is. And even though it will be sad if those other games, like Avengers, do end up getting delayed from September to later on, just know that they're taking every precaution necessary to stay safe, and this would also allow the developers more time to work on the game to fully utilize all the resources necessary to make the best experience possible. And of course, during this huge worldwide situation, it is for the best that everyone just keeps a level head and just looks forward to the best possible outcome that all these games could have in the future, and of course next-gen consoles. And even though Sony is currently saying, as of right now, that they do believe that the PlayStation 5 will release on time in holiday 2020, as well as the Xbox Series X in holiday 2020, I doubt that. I definitely think those two consoles are definitely getting delayed from then, late 2020, to possibly early to mid 2021. It's sad to say, but again, we can only just hope for the best possible outcome and just cross our fingers that things get better before they get worse. But anyways, guys, that was my short little, informative video about the situation pertaining to Marvel's Iron Man VR and Last of Us Part 2, if you're personally excited for that game, and other games down the line that I'm personally excited for, and I'm sure you are too. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think about this situation? Are you upset that The Last of Us Part 2 and Iron Man VR got delayed? I'm sure you are, but are you glad that they are taking their time to work on the game and take every safety precaution necessary? Or do you just wish that they would just release it digitally instead as a, second option? Or anything else that you could think of about games or consoles getting delayed? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And just cross your fingers that we do get some exciting news, hopefully soon, pertaining to either Iron Man or Avengers to just get some hype going and lift people's spirits. Because I know I definitely need that in this time of, crisis, quote-unquote, but I just would like some exciting news to get people's spirits up a bit. Because I definitely think that we're in some need of excitement currently. But anyways, guys, thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Stay merry, Marvelites. Peace out.